Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. This is sponsored by the Texas PACE Authority. The focus today is going to be economic development opportunities with PACE in El Paso and in the county of El Paso generally. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. We will have this webinar recorded and available on the Texas PACE Authority's website, as well as the Texas PACE Authority's YouTube channel for viewing later. And if you'd like copies of the slides, you can certainly email me. I will have my email address later in the presentation. My name is Dub Taylor, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of the Texas PACE Authority. And again, welcome this morning. We have a host of panelists and presenters this morning, many from the El Paso area, the county, the city, other organizations that are involved in supporting PACE and utilizing PACE as an economic development tool. And then we also have some PACE capital providers that have been involved directly in providing financing for projects in El Paso. And we'll go to the case studies toward the end of the presentation today. I'd like to thank the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, which has provided support for this effort. There's a couple of very focused initiatives along the border, one in El Paso, one in the lower Rio Grande Valley, and we appreciate the TCEQ's support for these education outreach activities. So with that, again, Dub Taylor, I'm the Chief Operating Officer, Texas PACE Authority. My email is here. Please email me if you have any questions. We will be taking questions at the end, so if you have any, enter them into the chat box or the Q&A box, and we'll address those toward the end. So you can type those in as we go, and we'll make sure and get to those toward the end. So what is PACE? You may have heard the term, but what it stands for, the acronym is Property Assessed Clean Energy. And then what's really missing is financing at the end, because that's really the key to this all. This is a financing platform. It's a different way of paying for capital projects over a longer term so that the benefits align with the costs. It's a simple way of paying for capital projects with no money out of pocket. It provides long-term, low-cost, 100% financing for certain types of improvements to permanent improvements to facilities, including energy efficiency projects, water conservation projects, distributed energy projects, different technologies that can generate electricity behind the customer's meter, your meter. And in Texas, it's available for commercial property owners, including nonprofits, so houses of worship, nonprofit facilities. It's available to industrial properties and to multifamily. So anything 5 units or greater is going to be eligible as well. In Texas, it is not eligible for single family or smaller multifamily 5 units or less. And the key to this all is that a PACE loan is repaid via a specialty property tax or a special property assessment that is extended to the useful life of the improvements. So that's really the key. We'll go into this more in detail in a minute. It's a voluntary and open market program, so it's not a regulatory program and you're not required to use it. We think it's an excellent economic development tool, an excellent tool in the toolbox to move projects forward that maybe otherwise were provided challenges from a financing perspective. PACE in Texas was authorized by the Texas legislature in 2013. It's Chapter 399 of the Local Government Code. And what that did was it authorized local governments to create PACE districts and operate PACE programs. And the county of El Paso has done that. It's local government enabled. And so we have over 55 cities and counties across the state, covering about 60% of the population that now offers PACE. So that's a general overview. And we're going to move into our panelists now. And then I'll come back and take a little deeper dive into some of the PACE structure and provide an overview. So our organization, the Texas PACE Authority, we sit in the middle. We work for local governments. We operate PACE programs for them. They are our customers. We work with property owners to help them identify what projects may qualify and walk them through the process. We work with capital providers to help them identify funding opportunities for projects around the state. And then we work with service providers that are the people who are actually doing the work to the buildings themselves, to the facilities themselves. So electrical, plumbing contractors, general contractors, energy services companies, all of the sort of service providers that do mechanical, electrical, and plumbing system works. So we sort of sit in the middle and facilitate the process, but that's our only role. We don't provide financing, and we don't provide the actual construction work itself. That is left up to the market itself. So with that, let me turn it over to Jose, who is with El Paso County, and he's the acting director of the Economic Development Department, to make a few opening comments. Jose?
Hey, good morning, and thank you, Doug. Appreciate it. Jose Landeros, the interim director for economic development here at El Paso County. I'm very excited to be able to talk to you about this important tool for commercial development. And well, when I say commercial, I mean non-residential, right? So as it was outlined right now, a number of uses for this program. Here at the Economic Development Department at the county, much like other ED departments across the country and in the state of Texas, our focus is business retention and expansion, which is your traditional economic development. But we also are charged with a number of programs that aim to provide assistance to businesses that are maybe not that aren't as traditional, right? We do a lot of heritage tourism efforts, and Valerie Venecia, who's here with us also this morning, really heads that up, does a great job of that. And it's in these non-traditional uses that I think there's a lot of unused potential for PACE to be really successful. The county implemented PACE back in 2016. The program became available, was authorized by statute in 2013. It took the county about 3 years to make the program available. And we've seen some successful projects that I know are going to be discussed a little bit later. But at the same time, I think when we're thinking about businesses and buildings, as individual companies are developing their pro formas and presenting this to investors, to partners, I think that the PACE program really fits into that, and would definitely encourage as many people on the call or on the webinar this morning, or later as this goes on into the halls of the internet on YouTube, to really consider adding this element into their program, because it is a way for the county to make a program available without expending any funds. It's a way for businesses to partner through a government allowed program that doesn't involve government regulation, as was mentioned. So really a private sector, third-party driven solution to also promoting clean energy, which I think is a great initiative that the Commissioner's Court is 100% supportive of. And really a lot of key areas for potential use in the downtown area, with a number of buildings being redeveloped here in El Paso. Sometimes taking those buildings from the state that they were in, when they were historically developed, to a place that is a modern facility that the businesses want to take advantage of and locate in. I think this program is a great tool to bring those buildings up to what we expect from facilities, and also the cost savings associated with really having these clean energy initiatives and infrastructure in place is an important component as well. So I can't say enough about the PACE program. My familiarity with it precedes my time in the economic development department back when I was working for a county commissioner on the Commissioner's Court, and got a chance to learn about the program, see it through when it was adopted back in 2016. And excited that it's we're doing this today to answer as many questions as we can from interested businesses. And I think that our partners have done an amazing job in making the program available, answering questions to out in the community, to business owners. And I think questions are good, right? Because questions mean an interest is there. And the more questions we can answer, the more interest there is, and the more buzz becomes available. But I wanted to end on this because this has become a secondary component to our efforts in economic development. is it not only provides for that economic resiliency, but also for that public health and safety component. A newsletter that was sent out a few weeks ago, highlighted the fact that some businesses that are looking to make investments for their COVID-19 response in terms of health and safety of employees and customers alike, some of those might be actual permissible and eligible activities that would be covered under the PACE program. So if it's investments that need to be made in the business to modernize it, to make it safer, to promote the public health and safety and welfare, I think that's a great thing to consider as well. So really the limits of this program do exist, but do provide for a lot of innovation and flexibility from individual business owners, building owners. So really encourage as many of you watching this to really ask questions and learn more about the program and figure out how it might fit into your business model, your building model, and implement it hopefully to really be successful. So I'll turn back over to Dub and to the other panelists, and thank you all for attending and for your interest. And anything that we can do at the county, if you ever have any questions for us, my email is there on the slide. Feel free to email us. You can email me directly. As I said, I am the interim and I don't know how long that lasts. My hope is not too long because I still am the director of planning and development for the county. So my responsibilities are being split right now between both departments. There's a great team working on behalf of El Paso County in the economic development department. And what I always say is I'm trying just not to get in the way of the good work that they're all doing. So if you have any questions for us specifically, you can also email us at economicdevelopment@epcounty.com. It's a very simple, straightforward email address, but please count on us as a resource for any questions that you all may have for this program or any other programs that we administer. So thank you so much.
Jose, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us and thanks for your support. As I mentioned at the outset, PACE is a local option program. So local governments determine if they feel that PACE would make sense for their communities and move forward with adopting it. This can be done at the city or the county level or any political subdivision level. In the case of El Paso, we're fortunate that the county took action to adopt PACE, meaning that any city within the county or any parcel eligible property within the county could take advantage of PACE. Throughout the state, we have some areas where PACE was adopted at just the city level, meaning that outside of the city or the ETJ boundaries, that those properties may not be eligible. But in the case of El Paso, anywhere throughout the county is potentially eligible for PACE. So with that, let me move on to the city of El Paso. Fernando with the city, who's the sustainability coordinator, is with us this morning, and I believe is going to share with us a new initiative, a planned initiative that he'll be overseeing with the city. So Fernando, let me turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Dub. Good morning, everyone. I'm Fernando Liaño with Community and Human Development at the city. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator. And at our department, we coordinate all resilience efforts for the city. And we see PACE that we fully support, not only as a great economic development and financing tool, but as a great resilience tool for the city. It's a more efficient private sector or public sector in El Paso is means a more resilient city. So increase water and energy efficiency for us is key to address air quality, energy costs, and resiliency itself. So that's why that was mentioning on a project or a program that we are developing and designing right now, and that it's going to complement, we think, PACE and PACE efforts in El Paso. We are working on a grant program for the private sector as well that would provide grants for demand reduction measures here in El Paso. So it would complement directly PACE, as the eligible measures and actions would be very similar to what PACE offers financing for. So we're hoping to put that together, that program for the beginning of next year, hopefully. And we see many opportunities of interaction and complementation with PACE. So if you all have any questions about that program or any other resilience efforts within the city and for the city, please contact us. You have my email information on the presentation. And thank you, Dab. I wanted to be very brief, and I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Fernando, and thanks for joining us this morning. The next of our local speakers, El Paso speakers, is there we go, going to be is Terry Reed. Terry is with the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Terry, I've got your slides, so if you'll just give me a nod or a signal, I'll move them forward for you.
Okay, sure. If you'll go to that. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Terry Reed, the Senior Vice President for Entrepreneurial Development here at the El Paso Hispanic Chamber. And I also direct the MBDA Business Center. This is a grant-funded center out of the U.S. Department of Commerce. So here at the Hispanic Chamber, our goal and mission is to assist businesses and to be that core component for fostering entrepreneurial economic development, where our existing companies are growing, our entrepreneurs are reaching new horizons, and our small minority and women-owned businesses are thriving and outpacing other markets. We do this through our technical assistance centers as well as our chamber, and we're all operated here within the chamber. So we have our startup arm, which is the Women's Business Border Center. This is a joint partnership of the El Paso Hispanic Chamber and the U.S. Small Business Administration. And then our MBDA Center is for businesses that are over 5 years old. So they're not startups anymore. They've got their arms wrapped around it a little bit more, and their needs are a little bit more different. We're happy to partner with PACE. They have always provided great opportunities to our local businesses, to our local contractors, and we continue to make sure that this opportunity is available for businesses out in our area. Also, we know how hard businesses have been affected by COVID-19, and through our centers, we have our CARES Act Business Assistance Resource Centers. Those are partnerships that we have with the County of El Paso, with the City of El Paso, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and the Department of Commerce. Right now, we are actively pushing a grant program that we have in partnership with the county. This is our Stay Safe Small Business Grant Program. These funds are available. We're taking applications for businesses located in the outer areas of El Paso County, including Anthony, Vinton, Canutillo, Horizon City, Socorro, Fabens, San Elizario, Tornillo, and Clint. And these grants range from $1,500 to $5,000. Grants are not loans, so they are not paid back. And these funds can be used to purchase materials for pandemic-related modifications to your business, safety supplies, cleaning supplies, basic technology to allow your company to operate more effectively. It's going to help you pay for current or past due business rent or utilities, as well as supplies to operate the business. And believe me, $5,000 goes a long way. Again, please contact us here at the Chamber, 566-4066, or at our website, www.ephcc.org, and click on the icon for the County Grant Fund application. It's a quick and simple application. Get it to us by Wednesday, December the 9th. That's next Wednesday by 5:30, and that selection committee is going to meet and make those grants available before Christmas. So within a week of you submitting it, you should have that money if you've been granted that award. So looking forward to hearing from you. I'm here for the duration. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask away. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Terry. And let me ask, since we're on your slide, I'm assuming that the chamber can be a good resource to owners in the area that are looking for contractors that may assist them with PACE projects.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We've worked with PACE in the past and have connected them with our contractor association. I manage the local 8A and Government Contractor Association here in town, one of the only of its kind. And we would be delighted to put them together with really any business. We're looking forward to being able to be that conduit. Thank you for that opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you. Our next presenter, Audrey, with El Paso Community College and the Small Business Development Center, another local resource that hopefully you're aware of, and if you're not, you will be soon. So Audrey, let me turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this panel. So the Small Business Development Center is a federally funded program. We're funded in part by the SBA. And if you could go to the next slide, Deb, there you go. We're funded in part by the SBA, the state of Texas, and our host institution, which is El Paso Community College. Because we are federally funded, we offer no cost business advising, technical assistance, any kind of managerial and operational assistance to businesses that are looking to, small businesses that want to start and or expand. We have a number of clients that we've assisted throughout the community, and much like the Hispanic Chamber, our mission is to foster small business success. And we do that by offering no-cost business advising. We have we just got another one. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 business advisors on staff, and they are extremely well experienced and knowledgeable in business ownership. Many of them have been business owners themselves. So they're able to offer that real world advice, real world information to these businesses that are looking to start and or expand. So right now, like everybody, we've taken a step back, because of the current pandemic. And so we're looking at and reassessing the businesses and helping them to keep their doors open. So the PACE program, because it is a cost savings program, that is key. So we are currently assisting business advisors. We're skimming through their financials. We're reviewing them every way that we can in all opportunities, so that we can have them, save money and help them keep their doors open. So educating them, which is my responsibility over at the Small Business Development Center, educating them on the benefits of the PACE program, as well as other programs that we've worked with in conjunction with the county and the city of El Paso to help them keep their doors open. That's our goal right now. And we are currently offering no cost webinars. If you could go on to the next one, Deb. And so these are weekly webinars that we are currently offering. And the benefits of attending these webinars is that so we're able to educate and help these business owners in these particular areas that are kind of mandated right now because of the pandemic, so that we can help them, educate them, and free them up and help them, free up that worry, so that they look for other cost savings programs like the PACE programs, and they can focus on that. So these are just a few that we're offering this week, and I would encourage each and every one of you to go through our website, and you can kind of go through the last slide, Deb, at elpasosbdc.net and look at the information that we have with regards to our trainings, with regards to the services that we offer, the clients that we've assisted, and you'll find that our services are very, very beneficial. And we work hand in hand with a lot of the panelists that are attending right now. So we encourage you and help, we want to help you and educate you so that you can utilize this PACE program and just keep your doors open. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Audrey. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take a little bit deeper dive into the PACE structure as an overview for folks that are with us today who aren't as familiar with it. And clearly, I think with the panelists we've had that have presented already, you see that there is a strong support network in El Paso and El Paso County for PACE projects. So where is PACE? PACE is not just a Texas thing. This is available in many states. There's 24 active programs in different states, plus the District of Columbia. As you can see there, it has been authorized by state legislatures in some states, but not yet activated. Again, in Texas, that happened in 2013 here. And so we've been rolling it out ever since. Some important commercial and industrial real estate trends to be aware of if you're a property owner or a contractor is there has been a clear trend toward repositioning or repurposing real estate assets. This is everything from taking, say, an abandoned warehouse and turning it into, living spaces, condos, apartments, combination ground level retail, where we've had, parts of our cities that have changed. There's some terrific addresses, if you will, and locations that can be used for other purposes, maybe than the original intent. So we've seen that shift happening, and this is even pre-COVID. I think since we've now moved, I guess, to greater acceptance that we'll be doing probably more remote work going forward is just a fact of our business now, since people have become accustomed to that. This may also accelerate this repositioning. So you may have, say, a commercial office building that the tenants don't need as much square footage as they once had, and that provides an opportunity to turn those in again to retail, living quarters, maybe different mixed use opportunities. Those kind of reconfigurations require mechanical, electrical, and plumbing work where PACE can come in, and it's an opportunity to make improvements on the front end and higher efficiency systems that have long-term paybacks. So that clearly is happening right now. At the corporate level, you see a lot of focus on what's called ESG, and that stands for environmental, social, and governance. And there are over 600 commercial buildings in the US now with zero energy certification. And this is not the result of a regulation. This is either a corporate board directive. It could be done for marketing purposes, for differentiation, but there is commercial buildings and commercial building owners now really see environmental, social, and governance as a priority issue. Again, PACE can help support upgrades to those buildings to meet those standards. And then I think we're all aware now of health-related upgrades that can, harden our buildings. Fernando mentioned resilience. Things like touchless systems, obviously motion sensors for lighting. If they're not already there, that means that you don't need to flip a light switch. You don't have to worry about who may have touched the light switch before. There can be touchless systems for faucets and fixtures in bathrooms, things like that. Germicidal LED lighting, specialized types of lighting that can run on separate circuits, where they can run for certain hours during off times or unoccupied times and provide a sanitation benefit for surfaces, for spaces. And then there's an enhanced focus now on the indoor air quality, I think more than ever. And that includes both moving more air through our buildings to ensure that what the air that we're breathing is safe, but also adding systems, filtering systems, other technologies to ensure that air that is moving through our buildings is as healthy as possible. Many times, those kind of improvements can have an energy savings benefit. They could also have an energy penalty. It depends on the upgrades, but these are the types of retrofit opportunities where PACE can perhaps play a role in helping implement. Overall, if you look at the commercial energy sector, and these are US numbers, but half of the overall US energy consumption and 75% of electricity generated in the US is used to heat, cool, and otherwise operate buildings. This is a huge number. You think that obviously manufacturing is very energy intensive, and it is, and transportation, and it is, but commercial buildings represent a very large, significant portion and growing portion of overall energy consumption. And if you look at the graph on the right, the red line is electricity sales in the commercial sector, and that line pretty much goes straight up. Now we're plugging more things into the walls these days, computers, every different machines, things like that. That's obviously driving it. But we also are adding square footage, and increasingly we are air conditioning everything more often. Now in El Paso and in Texas, this is not news, but other parts of the country, you used to never see air conditioners in Denver, Colorado, but now every new home and business has one. So obviously we're responding to changes in the climate. So this number is going up. And again, this provides an opportunity to bend that curve back down through implementation of projects through PACE. So when we talk about what's eligible in Texas, it's a very sort of general definition. Any project that reduces energy or water usage or demand or generates electricity on the customer side of the meter potentially is eligible for PACE financing. And these are some examples of some of those technologies. Obviously, chillers, boilers, HVAC systems, mechanical systems, lighting upgrades, combustion burner upgrades, renewable distributed generation systems. PACE is a terrific way to finance rooftop photovoltaics. El Paso has a tremendous solar potential, and flat rooftops, which are sort of vacant real estate that could be utilized for more distributed solar technology. A challenge with solar is that it is a longer term payback. It's not a 3 or a 5 year, a 10 year, it could be a 12 or 15, depending on your electric rates and how much you're offsetting. But PACE financing can line up nicely with rooftop solar. And it could be things like solar carports. That obviously has a benefit. If your car sits in the sun in the middle of July all day long outside, it's not pleasant to get back into. But if it's under a solar carport, now it's shaded, and that carport's providing benefit by producing electricity back to the grid and offsetting the building's use. Water and water conservation, always important. Certainly top of mind in El Paso. Water saving technology, water conservation technology, those are all specifically eligible under the Texas PACE statute as well. So energy or water or distributed energy projects, those types of things can qualify. And this is really, if you don't take away anything else from what I've said, think about this slide and take a mental picture of it. This is what makes PACE different. Again, we're improving assets in a budget neutral way, lowering utility costs and increasing net operating income. And as compared to conventional financing, say you're a commercial building owner, you realize I have old HVAC systems, lighting, maybe I want to do rooftop solar, but I don't have the internal capital to make those investments. Or maybe I do, but I don't want to utilize my internal operating capital that way. So you go to your lender, you go to a bank, you probably already have a relationship with a bank, and say, I want to make a $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 investment to my building. What are the terms? And the bank is probably going to say, this is an unsecured loan, because in the event that you default, we're not going to come remove the equipment. It's going to have very little salvage value. So maybe the maximum term will finance the project or the equipment is 5 years, 60 months. And your interest rate is maybe 5%, 5.5%. And so if you look at the conventional financing scenario on the left, what that means is that your repayment is compressed just toward the front end of the cycle, the benefit cycle that project delivers. So you're upside down financially during that period. The PACE model, what that does is it sort of knocks that repayment window over to better align with the savings. So it provides an increase in that operating income and positive cash flow immediately. And that is because the the PACE assessment itself is secured by the land. So that's what makes it different. Conventional financing, again, your cash flow is limited, or you're upside down initially. With PACE, you can cash flow positive day one. Very appealing. And as I mentioned, in Texas, the market is growing here. This is a local adoption program. The shaded counties and cities here, and you can see the list. We now are serving 55 different programs covering about 60% of the population. More joining each day as they see value for their communities. So growing in Texas for sure. And as far as investment, about $125 million of investment through PACE to date. And the bar graph on the right, you can see where things started sort of slowly after the 2013 legislation passed, and then you had local communities adopting PACE. Then things began to pick up. In 2019, we saw as much financing as we had in the 3 years combined. And in spite of the COVID slowdown, we've seen a very active number of PACE projects financed this year. Not as many in terms of dollars, but actually more individual projects than we've seen in prior years. So very active, I think, in spite of COVID challenges. And the breakout, as you can see in the pie chart, most of this is in the commercial and the retail area, hotels, commercial office, and nonprofits. About half of the projects are energy efficiency, about a third water conservation, and 12% distributed energy. The types of projects we've seen, they've been both in cities and in rural areas. Any sort of property you can imagine: offices, mixed use, hospitality, parking garages, retail. Again, a mix of energy efficiency, water conservation, distributed generation, demand reduction, and resiliency projects. And the range, the smallest one that we have seen is 68,000, and the largest is 24 million. And all have received 100% financing. So to summarize, you hear the term win-win a lot, and I think, maybe it can be overused, but in this case, it is really a kind of a win-win-win-win-win. The property owners see lower utility bills, resiliency, increasing asset value. For local contractors, you're the ones doing the work, so this is a new way to increase business. Many times a contractor will be working with a customer and run into the financing issue, the capital barrier. Well, how do we get past that? How can we finance this project? Or maybe how can we add back in things that were value engineered out? This is a source of financing that can help move those projects along. For lenders, this is a very secure, low risk type of financing. It improves the asset value, fully collateralized. For communities, and we've heard already from El Paso, this is a way to support economic development and jobs, to bring back buildings that you'll hear some in a minute that are that maybe have been abandoned but have tremendous potential. And then from the state perspective, and this benefits us all, by implementing these projects, it means we're reducing the demand on our electric grid. So those hottest days of the summer, the chances of brownouts are reduced. We are preserving finite water supplies and improving the air quality, meaning that since a lot of our electric generation is produced through combustion of fossil fuels, that if we're reducing demand, then that means less demand on the power plants and fewer emissions. So a win-win-win-win-win. Some key takeaways from a programmatic standpoint. There are resources, and we're here to help contractors and customers and owners through the process. You likely, will not do a PACE project every month or every week. We do, and so we're certainly happy to work with you to walk you through the process. Communities are really embracing PACE, and you've heard this already, to achieve different local goals. And again, from a contractor's perspective, or a lender's perspective, this can really open the doors for some new business opportunities. And then the financial key takeaways, again, not a balance sheet liability because it's land secured. It doesn't tie up a company's capital or line of credit. It increases the building, the asset's value, the performance, and then the indoor air or the comfort for building occupants. Doesn't have to be paid off at the time of sale. That's one thing I haven't mentioned so far, is a PACE loan actually transfers with ownership by design. It can be paid off. That would be negotiated with the lender, but it would transfer much the way a tax assessment does, although this is not in Texas a tax assessment. This is a separate assessment with similar features to a tax assessment. And again, can be paid off over a longer time. Equipment life, limited, typical financial terms on a bank loan, and you can be positive, cash flow positive on day one. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rachel Davis. Rachel is with Petros PACE Finance, and she is going to walk us through a project that Petros was supported from a capital perspective in El Paso. So Rachel.
Thanks, Dub. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys today. So yeah, a little bit about Petros. We are a national commercial PACE lender, founded in 2013 and actually based here in Texas in Austin. And so we work on all types of commercial PACE projects, whether they be retrofit, new construction, repositioning, all asset types, hospitality, retail, mixed use, industrial, as well as all project sizes, really from $500,000 up. Those are the types of projects that we fund. And so what we wanted to do is when you look at it, and Dub and the rest of the team have done a really great job giving a really good overview of what PACE is, but I like to think of it in kind of two buckets. So you typically have retrofits, and then you have development type projects. And so the one project that we have done in the El Paso market is a retrofit project. So Simon Property Group was looking to do a large renovation to the Cielo Vista Mall. And so they opted to use PACE financing to fund some of the energy efficiency retrofits that were going to go into the 1.2 million square foot retail mall. And so they ended up using about 2.3 million of PACE and funded what we typically see as PACE eligible measures. So they were putting in a new chiller, some pumps, optimizing their EMS system, as well as some exterior lighting, and then the controls that go along with that. And so a lot of what we see with projects like these is that folks will potentially start with one measure where they have a chiller. If it's an existing, in this case it was a mall, but if it was an office facility and their chiller goes down and they need to replace that, when they're looking to utilize PACE, they're likely going to pull forward some of the deferred maintenance or other planned improvements and just pull it into one financing. It's a great way to capitalize and fund those improvements. And so this is a very typical retrofit type project that we were pleased to get to fund in the El Paso market. If you don't mind, the next slide here. And so the other bucket of development projects. And so we've done numerous repositioning, gut rehab, whether they be historic or not, projects across the country, and then some outside of the El Paso market and other areas of Texas. And so really just wanted to hit on kind of why developers are interested in using PACE as part of the capital stack for development type projects. And the highest priority thing that we will typically see is that it's a great way for them to fund the energy efficiency measures that they're incorporating into their projects, but they can do it in a way that's more efficient than utilizing higher cost mezzanine financing or prep equity type scenarios. So there's an example here where you can see, for mezz, you might be looking at 14% rates or equity at 18%. And then PACE is typically, and call it the 6 to 6.5%. So those numbers are very attractive and really help promote economic development. I know, Jose, you alluded to this as well. There's a lot of opportunity with existing buildings to reposition those, whether they be in a central business district or in a suburban market. But it's a great way to revitalize the building stock that's already there and bring those efficiency standards up. So I just wanted to hit on that. And I know that Sean, you have a good example of that within the market. So maybe Dub will go ahead and segue into Sean here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rachel.
Good thing.
We're also joined today by Sean Ribble with Greenworks Lending, and Greenworks has been involved in a PACE project, very visible there in downtown El Paso. So I'll let Sean cover that now. Thanks.
Yeah, great segue, Rachel, and also thanks for the introduction, Doug. My name is Sean Ribble. I'm the director for the Mountain West and Texas region on behalf of Greenworks Lending. Similarly to Petros, we are a direct capital provider. Our group has actually funded over 350 projects nationally. We're currently operating in all 24 states. We've deployed over $400 million of capital through ZPACE. Our group has been around for coming up on 9 years. We're headquartered on the East Coast, but we have operations across different directors and different territories. I myself cover 8 states with a very large emphasis on Texas. If you would go next slide, Doug. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, really to piggyback and obviously to try to avoid redundancy with what Rachel had already talked about, what we're seeing, especially in the time of COVID-19, is utilizing ZPACE for revitalization and kind of capital stack formation efforts. Really, the idea behind it is providing liquidity. In a lot of other states and some, specific transactions, we can do retroactive financing to recapitalize. But really, in Texas, what we're focusing on is filling gaps, delayed costs, funding needs as it relates to the capital stack. As Rachel had mentioned, obviously we're half the cost of mezz, but really on these adaptive reuse revitalization efforts, which I'll talk about with the El Paso project we did. What we're doing is providing long-term fixed rate financing that's non-recourse. And the reason, as Dub had mentioned earlier, that it works so well is that we are aligning our financing with the improvements that we're funding, as opposed to short-term financing. For example, traditional bank financing, which may be a 5 to 7 year fixed rate term with a 10-year maturity or balloon and then a 20-year AM. Ours is fully fixed at that 20 to 25 year term, depending upon the nature of the measures. And the benefit of that is you're able to really improve or reposition an existing asset and allow for the energy cost savings generated from those improvements to really pay for our loan over the life of that term. Additionally, we run really dual path with the public sector's interest because we're improving the real estate to obviously reduce carbon emissions and then reduce reliance on the grid, but also revitalization, as I'll mention here shortly. So really, what are the benefits? ZPACE provides, liquidity for businesses, especially right now. That's really at the forefront to either recapitalize or reduce equity contribution to projects. We help complete capital stacks. What we're finding a lot of times is either they're sourcing all of the funding for a rehabilitation project, or they have a 10 to 15 or 20% gap in the capital stack, or it's not penciling because of higher cost, high octane forms of financing that we're displacing in the capital stack. And then lastly, on top of all of this, we're able to adjust kind of the first payment date to allow for stabilization of the asset. So, one of the bigger benefits is that we're able to come in and provide the funding for revitalization and improvements to an asset, but also to adjust the first payment dates that you can right size it. And in a lot of cases, especially now with COVID-19, kind of weather the storm. And so that's what we're really seeing is kind of us being a supplemental form of financing to push public interest, but also really help existing businesses. If you would, next slide, Doug. So the project we did, it's about 2 years ago. It was a large project, and it's notable because it's right at the center of the downtown business district. It was the first Hilton high-rise. It's over 100-year-old property. We did ZPACE financing to the tune of $9.6 million, alongside historical tax credits. And we're seeing a lot of that. We have strategic partnerships, a lot of historical tax credit groups, because a lot of the funding that we're doing is revitalization efforts of buildings. And me coming from a 10-year banking background, I love the rehabilitation of historical buildings. If you're able to salvage or save the existing property, do it, because you're really kind of being respectful of the existing city face, and also kind of helping the local community kind of maintain its culture and identity. So as I mentioned, we did this alongside HTCs. What we're seeing more and more is us working alongside new market tax credit, historical tax credits, CDFIs and different other things to really help kind of round out the capital stack, especially with kind of the pullback from more traditional capital markets. The really great thing about this project is that we were able to kind of tout the fact that we created 160 full-time jobs. And really what we're looking for is economic impact. That's why we like working with groups like Jose's to generate that economic impact and kind of benefit the community. What we're seeing more and more is that, yeah, we're doing projects in, downtown corridors of the large municipalities, but more and more projects in peripheral markets and kind of tertiary markets. We're doing a lot in kind of South Texas, working to do more and more kind of north near the Panhandle, and then also really West Texas and El Paso. So the great thing about ZPACE is that it really is agnostic in terms of where we do the financing program, and expectations are the same. We don't adjust rates or term or anything to that effect based on whether we're doing the business. We just want to get deals done and really help with revitalization and growth efforts, and also kind of managing COVID-19, which hopefully is going to come to a resolution here in the next 6 to 12 months. So yeah, with that, I'll open it up for any questions, but I really appreciate y'all's time. Would love to do some more business in El Paso. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. So if you have any questions, please enter them into the Q&A section now, and I'll take those. I see we have one that's teed up, and while we're waiting for others, just a reminder, this week we're having this webinar now that we've just concluded or about to conclude, which is more general and an overview of PACE as an economic development tool. Then on Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain, we're having a deeper dive into the technical aspects of PACE projects. So this one is going to be targeted more if you are a contractor, an engineer, involved in the project development phase, sort of walking through the nuts and bolts of how PACE projects are assembled, executed, and then how the financing and so forth is all pulled together. So if you don't have this on your calendar yet, it's not too late to register. There's a registration link. You can also get there from the Texas PACE Authority's website under education and training. This is available there. So please register if you're interested. And if you have colleagues that may be interested, please forward this along. It's open. There's no cost. And again, we appreciate the support from the TCEQ for some of these focused initiatives along the border. So with that, we're getting close to our time. We do have a question that came in that we can address. The question is, are there any of the health safety trend type improvements eligible for PACE? As an example, needle point bipolar ionization is one that I know of that may incur energy savings. Some El Paso businesses and ISDs are installing that technology. So the answer to that is maybe. We really look at individual projects to determine, do they meet the basic energy or water savings or demand criteria. If there is that argument to support the project itself or the individual element of the project, then the answer is probably yes. In some cases, then we look at the financial return. And some projects, it could be a standalone project that has a payback that is sufficient to support the project from a financial standpoint. Oftentimes, it may need to be combined with others. So if you're doing something like this, a bipolar ionization project, maybe there's an opportunity to retrofit fluorescent to LED lights, look at building energy management systems, look at water fixtures in the facility, sort of step back and look holistically at what the facility may need. And it may be that package then that supports the payback of an individual measure that may not stand on its own. So I think, again, the answer is maybe, and we have to kind of look at that individually. But yes, anything that really has an energy, water savings, or distributed energy benefit to it is potentially eligible. With that, again, a reminder, we will have this website. It's recorded. Let me see. I think maybe one more came up here. Oh, just a chat, a reminder here. Everyone can see it, I believe. If you're a business located out in the outlying county areas, has been in business at least since January 1st, 2019. It's been negatively affected by COVID-19. Please consider applying for the County CARES Act grant up to $5,000. And so the contact is there on the screen of the chat box. So we will have this webinar recorded. We'll have it posted. You can go back to it as reference. My email is at the bottom. If you'd like a copy of the slides, just shoot me an email. I'm happy to send them to you. We'll also follow up. I think if you registered, you'll automatically get links to the webinar recordings as well as the slides. So with that, I think that's all I see. And we will wrap up a couple of minutes early, but appreciate the panelists making time to join us today, and also for all of you for attending. And with that, we will close the webinar for today, and please join us on Thursday if you can.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.